Sammy, how's it been, man?
Hey, another intro. We just doing intros.
You imagine we did that, like fake radio host voice?
Hey,
voices?
boys and girls.
Welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast.
Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, we don't need it. We just talked, but it was cool. It was deep, actually. I mean, the intros are all sounding the same, to be honest. But like, we talked about ayahuasca and meditation, and we just had some new insights about how breath works and the benefits, and
that's it.
A lot of it is new ways of saying old ideas, and I think I need that personally. I just get different angles, and it's like, this was fun because it's just me and you talking.
Yeah.
It's less cacophonous.
Yeah, I mean,
for better or worse.
This is the old school.
Yeah,
this is how it all started, bro.
but it's enjoyable for me because we get to sit and really play with ideas.
Yeah.
When we're interviewing someone,
There's
and
more.
we're getting better at it, but like it's more focused on something, and in another way it's less
more
focused
contained.
because there's three of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I wouldn't even call it contained because the concepts we do have with our guests are very abstract.
No, we were joking before. We don't get prepared. It's not contained at all.
But I know what you mean.
Them
There is more of a direction where the train is going, whereas when it's you and me, it's just we can go off rails very quickly, and it's fun.
In a good way. We're like
in
a
a great
monkey
way.
grabbing vines.
We're literally the definition of curious chimps.
Yeah.
We really are.
Why did that make you laugh?
I don't know the way.
Yep.
Yep.
No reaction.
Yeah, I don't know.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. We should be going too in depth about what we just spoke about because we're just talking about us talking about things. So just
Holy
listen.
shit, he's right. Yeah, it's so fucking masturbatory.
Just
it's us doing this. Enjoy. Have fun.
Listen.
Like, subscribe.
This is all about just liking and subscribing us. And
that's true. Do that stuff. We need that. It's our lifeblood. It's necessary. Do it. Do it now. Actually do it. Thank you.
We're analyzing our conversation.
We're talking about. Yeah.
That's a fucking loop.
It's a fun one, guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Mwah.
Bye.
What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sami Sheva.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
No, I have nothing prepared at all. This is going to be the worst podcast we've ever done.
Have we ever prepared?
Maybe we should start.
I don't think we've ever prepared for an episode.
I like long form, but like when it's just me and you, like what the fuck is the audience going to get out of it? It's like us at this point. You
I
get
don't know.
it.
Some like us. I mean, our homeboy. We wanted to shout out to our homeboy.
Caleb leaves the nicest fucking comments.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys are so underrated. More people should know. I'm like, bro, thanks. I don't agree, but also yes.
I totally agree. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I think we can do better. I think we can get prepared for for episodes and actually learn things and maybe even teach things.
Yeah, you might be right actually. Well, that's something in the talks that we spoke about in the works, making more what's the word I'm looking for?
Adding value.
Yeah, more
for the
valuable,
customers.
specialized content, more individualized content, and
Look, I want to do the Putin thing.
yeah,
I won't say more.
yeah. But that's a whole other. That's
I
nothing
won't.
related to Curious.
No, but it's us.
Yeah,
It's just gonna be our dumbasses
yeah.
on a screen.
It's a good idea.
It's a great idea. I like the book review idea for one reason only. I want to read more. And I'm not going to do it unless I have some kind of
We
incentive.
should start the book review.
Book review.
But
Yeah.
because I got Michael Pollan's book. I really want to read it. It's I think it's How to Change Your Mind. It's called.
It's like a bad title or like a really
It
good
might
title.
not be that title.
How to
Actually.
Change Your Mind.
Actually, I have it in the other room. I don't know what it's called though. How to Change Your Mind. I don't remember, but it's based about psychedelics.
In
It's
3 easy steps.
yeah.
1, take mushrooms.
Hey,
2.
we did step 1.
Take more.
Yeah.
Step 1, baby.
So yeah, what's new, Sammy? I haven't seen you in a while.
I'm just waiting That's my life. That's what my life has become.
Just waiting.
Just waiting. For what? I don't know. That's the waiting part. Yeah.
Hmm.
Just been listening to meditation guidances.
Yeah, you've been all on that Sam Harris stuff.
Dude, he's so legit.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says about him.
I love the resistance you had when I first told you about him.
Oh, because I've seen him in interview, like in bits and pieces. I've seen, and I relegated him to a type of thinker, but he is so deep into meditation, and he really respectfully cuts the line off. You know, he's like a pure Buddhist.
Hmm.
He's not religious. He doesn't really partake in any. I mean, like, he's a very spiritual guy, but in a very scientific way, and he's just kind of found a specific avenue and limit of consciousness and like through meditation, and he's like, fuck everything else. You want to talk about afterlives, you want to talk about this and that, he's like, I don't see any of that for whatever reason. I just see that consciousness doesn't really exist the way we think it does. And I mean, in a lot of ways, I've said this probably on the podcast before, but like a lot of what you could call like awakening or enlightenment or something, like even especially from like a Buddhist or yogic perspective, is just like you're a meat rock, like you actually. This is what I've been experiencing this lately. This is why I'm bringing this up. But like you go to the depths and the limits of your consciousness. You turn the spotlight on itself until you don't know what the fuck you're looking at anymore. And then you just realize there's this non-local, just kind of, like it's not, there's nothing. I don't know how to explain it, but you're like, oh, I think I'm a guy, but like if I go like what is thinking of what is thinking of what is thinking of what is thinking until I'm just looking at fucking nothing, I'm just like, oh, like I'm just a thing that thinks it's a guy. That can perceive the limits of its own perception until it just is looking into like nothingness, and it's just like, oh, I'm not even the thing that's looking. I'm just lookingness. I'm not experiencing. I am experience.
You're all that space in between.
It's really hard to explain.
Yeah.
But like space is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking about non-consciousness or like non-experience, but in some weird way I seem to be experiencing it. So I don't know. I don't understand.
All
It's
these,
full of
all
paradox.
these things of thinking and seeing and looking and silencing is all added onto this space, which was allowing you to do all those things. And that space is you, in like the real you.
Well, okay, in that sense, I feel like you're talking about mindfulness, because he makes this distinction often as well. You know, it's like you need to learn to meditate, and then you can be meditative in life. But like you kind of have to, and you know, like anyone I think who's done vipassana once or twice, like you're there. You have the tool of mindfulness, and I think that's the space you're talking about, is where you can learn to just be equanimous and see what's arising. Because a lot of it becomes a non-doing, and it becomes like easier and easier, and it's like it's creepy because at first you feel like you're falling, because you're turning the thing that identifies on itself and its identity, and it just kind of like into nothing. And you're like oh, like the thing that wants to be something for various reasons. You suddenly feel like wobbly, because you're looking at the not thing that you are through the thing that you are, and it's like it feels like falling, and then it's like I'm only starting to get this, but there's like a restfulness, like if you continue the falling analogy, like you hit ground, and it's creepy because the ground, there's like a stability, there's like a point where you're just, it's like effortless. But you're not like there anymore. You're not you. Like you're able to just kind of like be less lost in thought and identification. And it's like, I guess, to like a really extreme point where I don't even know how to put it into words, but like a lot of senses of who you are evaporate. And then the things you hear, the things you see, your experience feels like who you are, instead of the thing experiencing. So it's like, first it's like all the thoughts and stuff you cut through, then you cut through the ego, and then you just are experiencing. And like that, I mean, now that I hear myself, I'm like, yeah, we all know, like everyone who talks about meditation, like you get it. But
To go through it though is different.
yeah, that's why I love the app, is because Sam Harris or whoever the hell else is being
It's good.
interviewed or something,
I should
they're
start this app.
constantly talking to you about what you're doing and
Yeah.
why. And like, for someone like me and you, I think because we have a bit of meditation experience, it's really like jet fuel. It's really powerful.
So how does the process work? Is it like 20 minutes a day kind of sessions, or
It's whatever you want.
Oh,
A
yeah?
lot of it, I wasn't even meditating for a long time.
you just listening to the talks?
Yeah, the theory was so like illuminating and so
It's-
enlightening.
It's fascinating because for all of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Waking Up app by Sam Harris is like, if you can't afford it, because there's a fee to join, you can just send them an email or something and they give it to you for free or something. That's what
Did I send you that picture I took of their, like, there's like a FAQ or some section like in the app itself, and it even more or less says like, hey, if you're having trouble paying for this, email us. We'll see what we can do. They might give you a few months free. They might give you a discount. Like, they're really
Wow.
flexible, and just like, if you're interested, if you're showing interest, they're gonna reward you for that, and that's so cool. That's so.
why don't more business models operate on that? Like, if it can work with Sam Harris's app, then it can clearly work in all avenues of life.
I think, well, maybe
That's
not
what I
all
re-
of them, because
So that's what I realized with Vipassana, where it's like, it's a donation-based sliding scale amount with no start and no finish. So you can give $1, you can give $100, you can give $1,000, depending where you're at in your life.
I
And
think
it
you
just
get a dirty look if you give $1.
imagine that. Yeah, I think $1 is
Like-
better. You should just give nothing if you give $1.
I mean, give what you can is really powerful. If someone really can't give much,
If if it came from
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
mindset, it's like, look, I'm like, this is the last dollar I have.
I
in
had
my
to
fucking,
walk here. Yeah,
like, I have no food for tomorrow. This is just my last.
I had to
loony.
beg for money for the
Then
bus.
yeah, but giving $1 could also be like a huge slap in the face.
I feel like the fact that, I mean, there's the
It's all
service.
intention, man. It's all intention.
It is, but like I really look. Maybe this is my like Italian side or something, and I just feel like guilty. But I feel like I have to at least kind of pay my way in
Yeah.
terms of like food and like a lodging. But I mean, it's invaluable. You're learning something that's like 2,500
It's an
years
ancient
old.
practice.
Yeah, like it's and like there's teachers present, and they're
Yeah.
usually like, I want to use the word imported. I don't remember the word for humans, but like they're brought over from other countries. They
Mm.
have a kind of community or like a network, and a lot of times it's like some guy from India or China or France
Yeah.
or something, just people from all over the world.
But my point is that it works. Regardless of that person who tips $1 or doesn't tip,
It
the
does.
system is alive and thriving.
I think those are different, though. I think the reason why Sam Harris can do what he's doing is because, first of all, he has like books and other ways of making money. This thing is like static info. He can always add stuff so that there's a growing like
Mhm.
source material, but there's already so much, and a lot of it is really like kind of dense and useful as is. So maybe it doesn't need to keep growing, and then now that it's there, it's there.
Mm.
Whoever does pay for it is this thing's going to pay for itself and then make profit at some point. I'm sure it already has.
Yeah.
But like I don't feel like there's too much maintenance. I don't expect there's a lot of
Who knows?
updates on
Well, there's a
something
lot
like
of editing, right? I'm sure it's a process.
I'm sure I can hear there's a lot of work and real writing that went into it.
Mm.
You know, like Sam Harris is great at just talking,
Yeah.
but you can tell when he's reading something, and he's really good and natural. But I mean, like it's
Yeah.
prepared. The information is it's like an essay. Like he walks you into thoughts,
Wow.
and you just can't help but be epiphanized. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on that app. So everyone get on waking up. Waking up. Yeah.
Waking up. It's great, man. And there is like a lot of timers and things. I mean, I have an old phone, so maybe that's not true anymore. But a lot of the timers don't have the function that I want. And my stock like clock app,
Mm.
it only has like the old school timer, so I can't change the ringtone. So it just does like that. And you have a fucking panic attack. Like I don't want to meditate and then come out of it with that, like
Yeah.
equanimity, and like it's a chance to practice, but it's
It
genuinely
just shocks you.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just want to avoid it. So I like that the app has
Nice.
this easy to, like, you just slide and you can put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and you can just kind of flick it until it's like it goes like, and then it's like 2 hours, I think, is the max,
Sweet.
and it just chimes like a
So
bell.
if you do a 2-hour meditation, is there a guide for that whole 2 hour?
I didn't do a lot of the guided meditations. I don't know how long they are. I assume
Okay.
there are a few that are like, 30 minutes, an hour.
There's
I don't know
one
if
that
there's
just
a
like
2-hour
there's
one.
one. We're going on a 2-hour journey. Everyone, put on your earphones. Damn.
I would. I'm sure there's a lot of good ones on YouTube. I'm sure, but like I would assume that like large chunks of it are quiet. But it's funny because in some of Sam Harris's, I don't know what to call them, like little essays or presentations, he's explaining, like he's answering questions of people who've started using the app, and which is awesome that there's like this kind of live feedback thing going on. And he says, a lot of you have been telling me that I talk too much during the guided meditations. And he's like, and he just kind of went like, well, fuck you. Like, like if you're disturbed by me talking, then you're not doing the practice right. Like even if you're disturbed, like just watch that disruption or that disturbing feeling. Like you don't need to be.
It's a fair point.
It's like imperative, I think. People have a lot of misconceptions. Even practitioners, even long-time practitioners have misconceptions. And he's going to make you skip some steps and be like, this is what you're trying to do, like bullseye. So like I said, for me, just listening and practicing here and there, but a lot of times it's just mindfulness throughout the day now.
You've convinced me, bro. I'm going to download that app after this podcast.
Do it. You guys do it too.
So I got back from ceremony. Yeah, I forgot.
Dude, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
You know what? We never, like, I mean, obviously I want to hear about this, but I was thinking the other day, because of all this meditation talk, like, we never really got into the last time you went to Vipassana.
We did at one point.
But like I don't remember it. Maybe I'm just like blanking on it.
Yeah, we had
probably talked about it on the podcast.
We had a whole episode on it.
A whole episode?
Like episode like 13 or something.
13?
It was it was a long time ago.
The second time you went?
I only went once.
I thought you went twice.
Oh, that's why you got confused. No, it got canceled.
Oh, it got canceled.
Because of COVID, yeah. The week before.
Right. Okay.
And then I was supposed to go again recently, but it just didn't align with my schedule. I couldn't fit it in.
I'm getting the bug again.
I would love to go back. Oh, we should look. They're popping them up all month.
Yeah, I went back on the website and there's still slots and stuff. Obviously, there's less people. Yeah. Or less slots or whatever, but yeah, man.
Dude, that'd be so beautiful.
So, okay, well, back to
ceremony. Dude, I don't even know what to say. Like, I've exhausted all words to talk about ceremony, but it was such a magical experience, and it made me realize that like the journey is so long. There's so much more to learn. Just when you think you get it, it's like nope, motherfucker. There's plenty more.
I think I like this whole the whole idea that there's like a sequence or like a schooling or like any kind of ladder. I feel like is just a big wrong thing. I feel like we're as humans, we're always open to fear and to like chaos and to negative emotions and to the second arrow and all these things. Like I just feel like that's always there. So we can definitely get better. And
I think you're right.
It's always fun to sharpen the tool and to improve and to get that last 10% or 1% or whatever the expression is. But I feel like it's really pointless to see it that way. Like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way because I've been practicing this and this for so and so long. Yeah. Fucking what are you talking about?
I think you're right. I think that's a trick we all fall into sometimes, is thinking that like these kind of emotions are at a lower level to where you are or where you want to be. And then when you achieve a certain level of consciousness, it's like, oh yeah,
I'm done with this.
Like these kind of worries and sadnesses shouldn't exist in this realm. Like, no, bitch, you're human. You're tethered here, and you're gonna go right back into the slumps, and life is gonna test you, and it's okay. I think the school, you got to take it lightly. That whole term of this whole idea of the spiritual journey is like a school, because you can redo those tests at any moment. Like it's like a school where you're like, there's no grades, there's no graduation. Is just like you go over material, and then like 6 months later they can throw the same material back at you. Do you remember this? And then you're like, oh.
But wouldn't that be the best school ever? Like
it would be an incredible.
I mean, they call it's more of a teacher or
that's
like
what this is. This is what life is. Life is just that. We created our mini schools within this school of life, so we can study.
I wish school was like that. Like you have individual or close to it. You have focus on you, like from the people teaching you, and they're hopefully experts. which is boring if you're like an astrophysicist and you're teaching like trigonometry to like a third grader or something. But but like to teach someone at their level and to not be so worried about like the examination, but really the understanding. And then a few months later to be like, what about this thing you learned? And be like, like there's so many things I've learned, and there's just that memorization culture, or I don't know why, like just pass the test, test culture, I guess. And
but I think those
I
schools
forgot everything.
I think those schools exist. The ones you're talking about.
They're starting to. I think I don't know enough. I know some private schools are better.
Someone at ceremony said she's enrolling her son into a spiritual school. I didn't go into depth with it.
I would have asked a million. I would have been like, what the fuck is that? What does that do? Where is it? What's it called?
I was just in such a vibe state. I didn't really want to talk too much.
Just like, cool, man. Me too.
But yeah, that stuff exists. And
no
then
judge.
if you heard the Rick Doblin podcast on Jerry, the recent one.
Rick Doblin.
Who's
Rick Doblin?
The head of MAPS.
Oh.
Yeah,
no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. So he was talking about how he went to a school like that, like an art school when he was younger.
Yo.
And it was like no exams. It was like very open.
I wish I had that. I'd be so much more confident today.
Mm.
Just like, here, do whatever you want all day, every day. Homework, that doesn't exist. Go play. You're a child. Go actually sleep and have fun and then recharge and then come to school and actually want to be here and learn what you want.
I think there's
with
a spectrum.
your hands.
I think that if you go too far in that, I don't know what will come out of
But
it.
it's still a school. Like there was this one I learned about a few years ago from a friend. She wanted to be a teacher in this style. I think it was called adventure learning. And it was very much like, honestly, it was like, imagine like a rigorous school, like a curriculum, but it's like mixed with the Boy Scouts. So like you learn about survival, you learn about like shelter building, ropes, you learn about plants and edible plants and what you can do with things, and you learn about knots and you learn about this and that. But like you go deep into it. You learn about cooking, you learn about like your taxes. Like it's like the joke about like, why do I need this information? Why don't you teach me? Meh, meh, meh. You know, like if you continue this type of schooling, at some point you are in a classroom and you're learning about like how to run a business or like how to do what is practical shit that is not taught in class. It's like, look, if you want to learn about math, you know, we'll give you all the basics in grade school and like read, write, and arithmetic, and I understand that logic. But like as soon as you're in high school, you should just specialize. Yeah. You should just start having fun. Like so many people I see are like 26 and they're like doctors. And I'm like, wow. Like you are so a kid, but like you accomplished something and you could totally just start fresh. You could be like, I don't like this. And now for the rest of your life on your resume, it says PhD of medicine or whatever. But then you're like a carpenter or like whatever else you do, you're just like that much more respected.
Yeah, I mean,
so much.
There's a lot of factors in that. Like that 26-year-old that's a doctor. It's either he extremely was passionate about that field and wanted to get there, which is, you can see that as someone who's a high-level athlete. It's the same journey, right?
It all seems like luck to me at this point.
Or it could be family pressures, but you know, like those stories are there, and those are people that are they're interesting to look at because they have this set goal in their mind from a young age, and that's where they're heading, you know. And
I'm jealous. I really honestly wish I just had like a clear.
But are you? Because it wasn't your interest.
But there's so many. It's the type of person I am. There's so many things that I actually genuinely find interesting. I still have to kind of push myself, and it's hard to pick one and to go deep.
Well, why do you have to pick one?
I don't. I shouldn't. That's been a problem, and I'm still kind of shedding that false paradigm. You know, like I really shouldn't. And I think I can be like a jack of all trades and still get a lot done and be useful for a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. And then maybe seeing, kind of making some Venn diagrams and seeing where all this kind of random skill can turn into something a little more focused. But the person who's like, I want to be a blank, and you know, like I have a friend who his whole life like wanted to be a pilot, and it happened ASAP, you know. And now he's probably making a shitload of money, and he's like a good pilot. You know, like you have these years and years. Like there's people my age, they've been working for 10 years. They're like almost a master. And it's like, fuck, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had a thing I can just kind of relax on and be like, I can always make money with this, and I can be my own boss and all that. Like that is worth a lot. So I'm doing that now, and I'm still like all over the place about it. Whereas there's people who just kind of have that thing. But I mean, like back to the fucking Sam Harris thing, he keeps talking about how it's just like the same reason you can't get mad at someone, because like we're all just kind of kids and we're all just like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And like you can have that space of forgiveness that like you can equally bring that to yourself, which is like this kind of 4-part perspective. But the idea is that the good things you do as well are just kind of circumstance. And like really, because Sam Harris like hands down doesn't believe in free will.
Yeah, I know.
At the same time, he has an app about like you doing a thing, which is meditation. So again, it's very paradoxical, but it's like, I don't know. I in my case, maybe in everybody's case, I just feel like the more I meditate and just become present, the more life just unfolds for me in the best way possible because I'm paying attention. So I have the instinct to make better choices for myself and for the people around me because I'm just an older and wiser human being.
Yeah.
But the attention gathering allows me to do that better and more often. And yet, in doing that, I notice my thoughts just popping out of nothing and me going, I didn't do that. And even the I didn't do that is a thought that I didn't do. And I'm just like, well, I just go like, okay, fine, man.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you just see this bubble of nothing. Like they say like awakening or like arising or like consciousness arises. Like the way they use these terms, you kind of look like eventually you're just staring at the mind and it's just like bloop, like something just comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And then you seeing that is a bloop. It's a bloop. It's a word now.
But that's what I was trying to say about space is within all these experiences of those bubbles ups and you realizing those bubbles of thought, that container that is being experienced in is in essence the real you, or the you I'm trying to illustrate here. The you is the wrong word because that's an idea. But
the perspective of the container is still wrong, essentially.
But the container itself, that experience, is where the meditation can get you, and that is where it's all like.
It seems like the end of the hallway. Like I don't know how to. Like I pass that, and I instantly get pushed back, because it's like as soon as I have any kind of perception or feeling or thought or whatever, it's just like I.
Oh yeah, well you're out of it. But that's
like was I ever past that point? I'm looking into this like abyss, and I'm like, I can go ever deeply into experience because of this access to this abyss. So I guess like I have one foot in some weird way.
Yeah.
But it's like you never have one foot out. You're never completely out of it, because it's like it's hard to shape it. It's hard to talk about it like a 3D space, but it's like you're at the end of the line of what is the thing perceiving, what is conjuring reality for you. So you cut the fat down until you kind of hit the cutting board, you know, and then you're just like okay, I'm a knife and a cutting board trying to cut down into further things. How does the knife cut itself? You're just like. So you're just there, like putting the knife down, and then going, huh? And then as soon as you it's like you grab the knife, and you're like, what's happening? What do I do? I gotta cut stuff.
Yeah, but that's where
you're just over and over. Grab the knife, put it back down.
But that's why those experiences, when you have that moment, it's so brief. It's because you achieve such a high level of awareness, but it's not a sustainable level.
Maybe it is. It's just practice. Like I said, there's definitely something there. There's like a benefit. Like you said, the space.
Yeah.
There's a perception of the space. You feel calmer. You feel like you don't have to hate people or yourself as much or at all for decisions, and for like that's why we got back into it, right? Is because we're talking about like luck. You know, like people are just we're all just kind of like riding a momentum. And I mean, it's not an excuse to be a dickhead. Like you do have at least the experience of free will and the action to do better. But like perception, or like consciousness, or free, like the kind of access to free will are all the same thing, where you just kind of cut down until you hit that wall, and then you're at this like most that you can be. And then you realize, like I said, that you always have one foot in that space, like you are that space. It's so confusing. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. It's so circular and paradoxical.
It gets tricky, because it's not where the monkey brain is allowed to go.
Exactly.
And that's what we're trying to describe with our monkey brain, and it's not going to work. It comes down. It's like a child playing with like Lego blocks and trying to design a building with huge chunky Lego blocks. Like you can't make a blueprint with that.
I kind of like that analogy because it's like, let's say you have more Lego blocks. Like instead of making a small,
well, you can make it closer to what you're talking about.
Yeah, like you zoom out.
Yeah.
So that it's more pixely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what meditation feels like sometimes. Is like you look at something, and it starts to kind of crumble. Whatever you think the edge of the consciousness is, or the spotlight being turned in on itself, you can do that in this kind of infinite donut. Like it's so dense, but like it sucks you in a weird way. At some point, you just go like, oh. And I mean, I can do it right now. I can do it when I'm sitting and chanting. I can do it when I'm walking around. But it's like, do what? Like, realize that I'm not realizing anything? What am I talking about? Help me, Nate.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Well, it's the whole thing that I told you right before the podcast when I was driving, and then my GPS started pixelating. It's like the voice started. I don't even. Just like the voice started chopping. You know, I was just driving on the highway, and the voice was like, "Tell me, get off the exit in 300 meters," and then I heard it again. It was like, "Get off the exit in 300 meters."
Like you're on Special K or something.
And I'm just like, "Oh, am I dead? Did I get into a car accident?" And this is just what I'm hearing echoing in my consciousness when they're trying to resuscitate me.
That's what made me laugh so hard, is because you always do that.
That's where
you
I
always
go.
go to the, like, I remember one of the first conversations we had. That's like what made me want to be your friend, where I was like, me too, because you were talking about like being in a public space and just being like, what if I'm like dancing naked right now and I don't know it? Like, what if I'm just I've lost
Dude,
it?
I love that you brought that up because I still think like that everywhere I go.
Of course you do. As soon as the fucking sound skips on your GPS,
As soon as
you're like, I'm having a fucking what's that movie called? Stay.
I never
Was it
seen
Dude, it's so good.
No,
I
but
just ruined it for everybody though, because that's the fucking premise.
But that's it. Anytime I'm at an event, I'm like, is my dick out? Am I fucking talking to myself? Am I like this? Is everyone pretending like just ignore the crazy guy?
Are you like constantly like inhibiting yourself from doing horrible things? So you're like, oh, did I like miss one and I'm fucking like
I don't
punching
know.
people in the face on the metro or something?
It's like it's anytime
With my dick out. It's always with my dick out for some reason.
It's anytime there's a cacophony moment where the GPS fucks up, then I go into that trance that, oh, nothing's real, I'm dying.
So that meme where that guy's got the big eyes and he's just going, wake up. Like that ruins your day.
Or if I go like if we're at a huge event where that thought process would come, would be like if something weird happened or someone looked at me weird and just walked or something, I'd be like, I go down this rabbit hole that nothing is real, and then or maybe I'm just crazy or so, like I don't know. It's hilarious to think like that, but then I catch myself and I just laugh. You know, it's
like I guess is it funny because you realize you can always dip into that? Like that door is always open, or
it's
it's
just
like
wide open.
nothing is real.
I think that's why it's funny. It's just like that's where my mind goes, like default mode.
But like it's extra funny because you're like, imagine you're having this existential crisis and other people are just worried about like what they're wearing and like their phone is dying and like all these like fucking things at this layer, this material layer of like I gotta get to work and stuff, and you're like, am I here? Like am I me? Does me even really exist? Is this all a dog's dream?
I honestly think that happens to me at least once a day.
That's deep, dude. The other day, actually, I was having dinner with Johnny and his girlfriend, or fiance now. She was talking about how like the cat walked by the door and she was in the bathroom, and then she looked again and it was like the exact like this Matrix scene where like it was this deja vu. Exactly. So she got out of the fucking. I can't do it justice. I'm just laughing because like Johnny's telling the story, so he's making fun of her. You know, like he's. So he says something, but she saw this and she's like tripping now, right? So she just pokes her head on. She's like, "Did you say something?" But like 10 minutes later. So he's like, "Yeah, I fucking said something. Like you didn't hear me. Like you heard it like fucking 10 minutes ago." But she explains like, "I feel like I'm in the Matrix. The cat walked by and did the same thing like twice in a row." And it's like, okay, man, maybe,
yeah, maybe these things are just to remind you to take the needle off the record for a second.
with ayahuasca.
Boom. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go back to that. We did
It's just such a
Full circle.
miraculous experience. It's really the word that keeps coming to me, and I always say it, but it was just the healing process is so deeply deep.
Fair.
You know, and it never ends. You think you catch something right, or you think you're onto something, and then no, there's more to work on. And it just reminds me. It reminds you there's a lot of work to be done. And to be honest, the last 2 ceremonies I went to before this one were very unpleasant physically. I think I had a migraine both ceremonies, and just the first 2 times ago it was really brutal. Just the migraine, the whole experience, very sick. And then the second one was like not visual or anything. It was barely an experience. And then this one was just like so gentle and so nice, so kind. Yeah, it was really nice to have that, like a cosmic hug.
Were you like, we talked about it a lot in the past. Like, did you prepare better? Like, you've been eating better and you feel better physically, so it reflected in the.
Yeah, yes and no. I think I did do a lot of prep. The no coffee, I think, was the big one. That acidity was just noticeably different. Yeah.
Maybe it has a direct effect.
I
Do they
think
tell
so.
you know they have that
They
kind
say
of
no
list?
coffee.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It seems like it might interact in like a direct way. I feel honestly, I've been on coffee a lot lately, and I just like back on that train, like 100%. And I notice if it's like, let's say it's the first thing I drink in the morning. Like now, I need water, and like sometimes I put like water with lime juice, like I squeeze a lime in it, or like I'll even eat while I drink the coffee, because just coffee in the morning, especially days in a row, I just feel like. Almost, I've never really had like an acid reflux issue, but I
burns
know
them.
what it feels
Yeah.
like. You know, when you go to bed and it's burning your throat, like it's really bubbling up to the throat level. This is not that bad, but it's the same feeling. It's like the start of that,
Yeah.
and it's
Why do you drink coffee every day?
it's a mix of things, man. Like it's. This is one of the things that makes me think I have ADHD. Coffee makes me like sleepy. Like it jitters me if I have too much caffeine. If I go to Tim Hortons and get something that's like 5 times the caffeine of like a homemade cup, but I just have those like a Bialetti now, and I just like I put it on in cafetière, I just put that shit on the stove. I bought a red one that's bigger than my other ones. It's new, so it doesn't taste like fucking aluminum, and it's red like my fridge, so it matches. I love it. I'm so happy.
Home decor.
It honestly makes me really happy. I just look at it and I'm like, ugh.
That's how I felt when I got my AeroPress. I'm like, this is so fancy.
Yeah, those things that makes a good coffee too.
It makes a great coffee.
I don't know what it is about that thing, but yeah, man. I like the lower caffeine and like getting used to it. There's like it's the same thing with weed and like most drugs, where you have this weird entry and then you stabilize. And I think like just before or just at the stability, this like plateau, you have to kind of keep it there, which is actually really easy for some people, but not for me. I'm either going to stop drinking entirely or drink like every day.
Yeah.
But if I did it like 3 times a week, it'd be perfect. Because like that the right before the plateau, it still feels novel, and that's a good thing for any drug.
That's it.
But I mean, if it is just to keep you kind of like, it keeps me kind of, I feel stable. I feel like thoughts come in a little slower, and I can actually kind of think. And like if I have a negative thought, instead of having like 10 negative thoughts that just come right after it without even thinking, air quotes, I just kind of go, I see this thing. It's like playing like Nerf versus like Airsoft. Like I feel like I'm just getting shot at all day. And then I drink coffee and it's like...
It slows it down.
Yeah, like some bullshit like laser tag instead.
Well, it definitely has those benefits that it's really helpful sometimes on the way you process information in the nervous system. And it could stop... Does it stop cortisol?
I don't know. I assume, because for me, I noticed that I can kind of make me anxious, and I'm not sure when or why. It's a stimulant. I understand it's going to give me literal stress.
Yeah.
Like just it's going to arouse me, if you want a like technical term. Arousal.
Ooh. Coffee arousal.
Coffee arousal. But I just stopped to say arousal in a sexy way. I love me sometimes.
Yeah.
That's stupid. So what was I saying? It's I feel like if like I said, if I have it first thing in the morning and it fucks with my stomach, like there's things that can kind of make it like uncomfortable.
Okay.
But if I I think the thing that makes the most uncomfortable for me is when I'm drinking it really consistently, and suddenly it's like I feel, I don't know, like it's messing with my sleep quality. It's messing. It's not working as much, so I need to drink
Or it
more.
messes with your mood. Does that happen for you?
That's another thing, is that when I start drinking more, I guess that's the next step, is that I start crashing.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that with coffee. I drink it black. I don't have any sugar in it or anything. Excuse me. And yeah, I just I don't like getting to that point. It's nice when you wake up and you kind of wake up faster and easier. But if it's gonna hit noon and you're like, you need a nap.
Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed, because it's been almost 3 months since I quit coffee. And yeah, I do miss it in a sense, but I don't feel the need for it in my day. And then it made me realize
Need territory is bad territory.
It made me realize, though, that coffee is a substance in the end of the day, and it does have an effect on your body and mind. And it might be good for certain things, but it's overused. You know, it's definitely overused. And that's what I noticed. I would wake up in the morning, and that was the first thing I would go for before anything. It was just, I need my coffee. You know? And I was actually just to reduce the withdrawal symptoms of needing coffee, you know, that
after a point,
it was nothing. Like, the coffee was just serving in filling the need for it. Like, there was no benefit to the coffee anymore.
Yeah, like I was just saying, right? Like, one of the things that it's in the way that it's messing with me is with my sleep.
Yeah.
So if I'm drinking coffee to help me wake up in the morning, and then in a roundabout way at the end of the day I'm having a harder time sleeping, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
Because then I'm gonna wake up more tired and then need more coffee, and then you're fucked. So there's that. That's part of the sweet spot, I think, is that like when you're like if you're like a weekend heroin user, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a lot of self-control and really know your body and be like, okay, I'm always playing on that edge of like needing it the next day. I'm at that point where I'm a regular user. I can easily build a tolerance, but I'm just playing on that edge. And it's an edge. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
You could just cross over, but depends who you are. I think some people have an easier time just every relationship with every substance as well, from person to person. Like, you just
Sometimes it's good to be on the edge, though. You know, it keeps you in check.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. You got to. And living on the edge with coffee is like the most vanilla edge you can be on.
It's so
It's like, oh, you're on the edge with your coffee.
ooh, yeah. I think
It's like, what's the worst thing that happen? You just drink it every day. Like, there's no deterioration to your body or mind.
Honestly, like, it's not as bad as weed for me, but it's like I feel like.
But that's why it's so socially accepted, because it's so it's
So is
harmless.
weed now? Yeah, the same idea.
It's
Same
so
thing with
harmless.
alcohol. I mean,
and
alcohol.
food. But like, these addictions, or these whatever you want to call them, could be so detrimental to your life and your health and your wallet even.
Yeah, normalization is weird, because you could eat, like, you could just make yourself diabetic. You know, like, a bunch of people, they just don't listen to their body.
Yeah.
I've just assumed, because I did this for most of my life, and I'm only kind of figuring it out now, where I'm literally eating like what feels right. Like I was thinking that when you're like, wow, this is literally a drug, and it's like, yeah, so is alcohol, so is weed, so is like rice, like food. It's stupid to say, but it's not. Like, you can totally mess your
all
day
drug.
up.
It's all substance.
Well, everything's affecting you. Everything's coming into the system, and it could drastically spike your insulin and like make you like really tired later on in the day, and then that could really mess with your mood. There's different types of tired. You know, like today I feel good. I had a nice, healthy breakfast, but I worked out sort of the day before. Like, I feel tired, but like not in a shitty way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel still attentive and lit up in a way. Whereas I could have had like a sugary breakfast, and I could have been tired because I stayed up all night. And then it's like a totally different feeling, where it's like I want more carbs, and I can't really concentrate. Like, I could think now. I can like work today. I could like I'm focused, but I'm fucking tired. I woke up early. My legs hurt. Like, it's a different tired. It's a totally different tired, and I just really feel it more and more now that as I get older. Things like coffee, you know, it's a vanilla edge, like you said, but it could really fuck my week up if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
I can be tired by noon, and then my day is ruined. And if I do that every day, I have half a day.
Yeah.
And then I you know, like you can try to function, but it's not going to be as good. And then you're just, you know.
It's interesting though when I
Go to bed.
announced when I announced I'm gonna do this no coffee. How many people reached out to me and were like, "You're like this is
You're
heroic."
crazy, bro. Well, they
Well,
know.
there was a lot
you,
of people
you had
that
to tell me that you're like really really deep into coffee. Like I
Yeah.
didn't notice.
But a lot of people were like super like, I wouldn't say envious, but like, oh my, can't believe you're doing that. I would die. But so many people were messaging me about that, and it made me wonder. I'm like, this is like, it's a weird addiction that we've deemed to be accepted and normalized, and because it's not, the harm is not very apparent or even there. I don't know how bad it is to drink coffee every day. People live their entire lives
Hmm.
to old age with coffee, but it does have an effect on a lot of lives, man. It does.
Everyone's different too, like your neurology and
Yeah,
things
but
like
for the
that.
most part, I think if you drink coffee every day, you're not going to just have some crazy condition that appears. You know,
No, like you already have to be. I don't know, like
it's not like a
tired or
direct
something.
relationship to a pathology,
I doubt it. Yeah.
or it might, but like it hasn't been showing up. you
I
know?
think, but like becoming dependent to it. Well, look,
All I'm saying is it's not a toxic substance. It's very like it's very manageable and pretty much okay. But
yeah, I think the only way it's harmful is in the fact that it's a stimulant. So then you're stressing
Yeah.
the body.
it's what it does to your day-to-day life. Like you're saying, is like you drink it to wake up in the morning, but then you're tired at night. It's like,
Yeah, like now I have such a
or you don't sleep
tolerance.
too well at night.
I can drink coffee. It's not a big tolerance because I don't need more in the morning, so I'm playing on that edge right now. But I don't do well with these edges that we're talking about.
Mm.
I'm more just go over the edge for a while, and then I just go full zero. Just shut it all down for a while. Lately I've been good though. I don't know why, and it's like I can drink tonight. I'll probably have coffee, and I know the amount. I don't want to drink too much, but I'll be able to sleep fine.
Yeah.
And it's very confusing, but because there's like
No, but I'm like you. I can drink coffee late at night and I would be tired. Coffee never gave me, or maybe it did. But that's why I think, because I never felt like I was stimulated from coffee. I think coffee for me was like what I said before, was just fulfilling that withdrawal symptom of not having it.
interesting. Well, I mean, I feel like it's like planned obsolescence, like with light bulbs, like this idea that they want to bring. It's like crack. It's like I'm gonna give you the good shit, So like, what I'm trying to say is like if you're the type of person who starts buying coffee on the go and you go to Starbucks or Tim Hortons or something, there's way more caffeine in there.
Oh yeah.
So
McDonald's coffee, by the way, is fucking.
I thought that
you
was
know-
one of the good ones that had less.
No, dude. Like the whole thing about the COVID lab leak and the gain of function research, where they were juicing up these viruses to get whatever they're doing at McDonald's, they're juicing up this coffee bean, man. It's the same organization.
GMO coffee bean.
Whatever they're doing, dude. A McDonald's coffee, and I drink coffee daily. Or when I was drinking coffee daily, I fucking avoid a McDonald's coffee because I get yoked. It's like I had 6 coffees in one.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like
they're
it's
hyping up that.
there's nothing wrong. Maybe like you can have a calm alertness and a nice enjoyable coffee at home, but then you think it's the same thing. It's called coffee,
Yeah.
but you're like, oh, I'm on the go. I gotta do this and that, and I didn't get a chance to make it. Oh, I'm just gonna pop into good old McDonald's, and then you're like this all day,
Yeah.
and then you're like crashing mentally, but then having a hard time sleeping, and then the next day you want another one.
But here's the fucking thing. You get used to it after like 3 days. It just feels like a normal coffee.
That's what scares me.
It's just
like
you up the dosage, and now
Yeah.
your body needs that dosage, and that
that's
dosage
where you get
is
the
like
headaches and
that
shit.
dosage is like your new plateau.
Yeah, no, and that's scary because these drugs, like those plateaus, have different effects. With cannabis, with coffee, caffeine in general, with alcohol, like you build a tolerance, but there's new effects at these plateaus. So you might not feel it in terms of like, oh, like if you take a bunch of like a drug and you're like, oh, I took too much or something, like it's obvious. But if you just go to this new tolerance and like you said, like 2 or 3 days later, you're like, this is my new normal.
Yeah.
But then your sleep is fucked. You're jittery. You're like anxious and
As soon as
aggressive.
you wake up in the morning,
And it could be subtle. It could be
Yeah.
like, oh, why did I like get so mad at that guy driving today? And then that kind of ruins your day. Like even if you don't let it out at work, you're not gonna like snap at your boss or something, but you just go home like worse. Like you just feel
Yeah.
bad or something. I don't know, man.
But that's why when I remove coffee, energy is good. I feel really good. Only thing I miss is the taste.
Yeah, that's part of it.
The
That's
taste
thing
is
for-
beautiful, but
my buddy Kyle just has decaf.
yeah, but fuck that.
He's like, I want the coffee without the caffeine sometimes, and I'm like, that's pretty
thought of
smart,
it.
I guess.
But ever since I quit coffee, I've been avoiding Coke and Diet Coke.
What's the
There's caffeine
connection?
in there. I've been avoiding anything with caffeine. I don't know
Oh.
why, but I've been having a few times now black tea, which I noticed there's like caffeine is insidious, man. It pulls you in because I had the black tea a few times, and now I notice the same sensation that when I had with coffee.
Feel like I want
That,
that.
yeah. I wonder.
Get that certain aged green tea, like the different times that they take the leaves has like different effects. There's one where it's like really mellow, has caffeine in it, but it has that other thing that like balances the caffeine. I forgot what it's called. I don't know what it's called.
What an addictive substance. But it's not harmless, so it's why it's kind of okay, but it's crazy how much it pulls you in. That and sugar. Those two systems I think are the hardest substances.
They feel different to me. I think I really have like a deep sugar need, and coffee is still just like it's interesting, but it's like an acquired taste, like it's something, it could be very like a bitter or very strong, and that's part of the enjoyment now. But sugar has always been like overwhelmingly pleasurable, like if you put a spoonful of Nutella in your mouth, or like maple syrup, like these things are just,
Yeah.
they don't need convincing. You put sugar in coffee. That's how good sugar is.
It's
You're
true.
like, fuck this coffee. I'm going to put sugar in it so that it tastes good.
And that sweetener does not do it for you. It's just not the same.
No, I mean, my favorite sweetener is maple syrup, actually.
It's
It's
very
funny that I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a rich taste,
Yeah.
like coffee, but it's sweet. It's like I mean, you know what maple syrup
Fucking
maple syrup tastes like.
Yeah. But it's funny, yeah, you put sugar in coffee.
I feel like, hold on though, I'm tired, so I'm not noticing, but I feel like we haven't talked deeply about the ayahuasca ceremony. Like you brought it up and then we keep diverting.
Yeah.
Am I doing that? And you're just like, fuck, Sammy, I'm trying to get this story out.
No, I mean,
Or are you like, is there anything you want to talk about it, or specifically not want to talk about it? Like,
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to process
what happened? Who did you see? What are the entities? What was Terrence McKenna there? Was fucking
Terrence McKenna was there. No.
was Sam Harris there?
I'm trying to think.
Telling you how to meditate?
No, all I can really say was it was such a gentle experience. It was just
Like, was it pleasant?
it was pleasant. It was all of it, but it was gentle. It was like, I don't know what that means, but it was just
It's just easier. It just felt easier. I feel like that's a reflection on you. Like you still had a ceremony and an experience, but you just were more chill about it.
yeah. And just things
And
would
the no coffee thing.
things would arise, and it just the level of presence that I had, I think, made it easier. Oh yeah, there was one thing that I was just breath was so powerful and potent during that experience. I was just following my breath, and I went through every type of emotion, and just the breath was the only constant in those emotions,
Yeah.
And the only thing you can actually control in those emotions. It might have been influence from the Sarah talk. Did I go to Sarah pre or post ayahuasca? No, it was post ayahuasca. Okay, so it wasn't from Sarah, but
Oh yeah, you were back. By
yeah,
then.
but
Were you?
I don't know. No, I might have. No, I
Shit.
wasn't. I wasn't.
I don't remember. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you guys hear it weekly, but we had a bunch of episodes lined up pre. So
Yeah,
so they just
our timeline's all fucked up in our heads now.
no, I think Sarah was pre because Sarah was like 3 weeks ago or something, or 4 weeks ago. And ceremony was like last weekend. God damn, time. What is time?
It's nothing really.
So especially with a podcast, like that fucks with your concept of time so much, because we have conversations that evolve so rapidly, and then they're released like 3 weeks later, and it's like that something completely different could happen to that guest, and they're getting a snapshot of 3 weeks before, and it could be completely that fucked us once pre-COVID with our guest Ryan. You remember that? Where
Ryan.
the trainer, where we were talking about his gym, and then COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then he just didn't want the episode to come out.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of this feels so far. Like even the newer episodes feel distant. I mean, I guess they are now. That's kind of your point.
Yeah.
But like, actually, maybe that might just be it. Never mind. It's like they're literally like a month ago, and I'm just like, man.
Well, now
it
we're
feels
up to
like
date.
so long ago.
Now we're up to date. So Okay, let's get back to that. The breath.
Yeah.
So
Did you guys do a breath work at some point?
The next day. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
But-
this just kind of happened spontaneously.
And I had this like quote that was flying in my head. It was like, your breath is like spirit, is like the Morse code from this from the spirit world to this reality. Is your Morse code is your breath. And it's like the one
What does
thing
that mean?
I don't even know, man. It's just like,
I mean, I guess in a way you can, like, if you're observing the breath, you can see how you feel. Like if you're kind of detached from how you feel, which a lot of people are
well,
often.
it's like it's the direct communication with the oneness is following your breath. So it's like literally a Morse code. And then if you narrow in on that message and you get into just the breath, you get into that space, what we're talking about with Sam Harris's meditation app and where that can take you. But it's all related to your breath. Vipassana is all related to breath. Follow your natural breath. Come back to your breath. So the breath is life. The breath is everything. And then when you narrow your focus on just the breath, you are experiencing everything.
I've always felt like a lot of people bunch focus up and like with mindfulness and meditation, and it's like you could follow your breath, you could follow your thoughts, you could do a mantra, you can imagine a deity. There's like this kind of, you always hear the same things, but there's something about listening to the breath or paying attention to the breath, like that being the anchor or the thing you always come back to after your thoughts kind of wander. For some reason, that is really, I think all of those dimensions I mentioned can have extra facets and have depth, but the breath is really interesting. And now that I guess that I'm thinking about it out loud, like it's a weird thing because we can control it really easily, like more easily than our thoughts. Maybe it's just like it's motion, but my hand often won't move on its own. But if I'm not thinking, I will breathe on my own.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can get to a point where I'm looking at the breath and not affecting it.
It's the one
And
thing
that takes time.
Yeah, that's
And that's weird.
because it does its own thing, regardless of your control or not.
It's like you're holding your breath in a weird way when you're listening without affecting it. You're letting the breath go, but you're like, it's like you're so used to being like, I'm controlling you. So you're always like, okay, it's just breathing.
But
It's just breathe. And you're like, oh.
That's the essence of Vipassana, is your natural breath, the not controlled breath. You remember? It's all about following the natural course of breath. And there's so much to be said in that when you feel it. It's like you can take your 4-second inhales and your 4-second exhales and bring your calmness and awareness to that. But that's a limited awareness. You're focusing on your control of your breath. But to get into that state where you're just naturally observing it, and that takes a lot of practice, like you said.
I get in that way, yeah, it's a really big
But
like equanimity flex to be like, I'm not gonna affect my breath. And it's like
But
that
that's
takes
why
a
you
lot
take
of concentration.
That's why you take a 10-day Vipassana, and only by day 7 or whatever, you finally get a glimpse of what they're trying to tell you to see.
Yeah, it just takes practice in the end, and there's no better place than Vipassana to just go like and do hours for days on end.
Dude, we should go do Vipassana, then do a podcast right after. It'll be the most silent podcast.
With the most boring podcast. We'll just be like, well, that was
We'll
nice.
let's fucking make it a 1-hour episode of just meditating.
Boy.
It'll be like an ASMR. Just we'll crank up the mics, and you just hear the breath.
Or we'll have like we'll have a version of the video where it's just sped up. So
Yeah.
it's like a 5-minute video, but we just don't move for an hour. And it's just like it's doing like that.
But there's a lot to be said. If you really think about the natural breath, that is life. That is the essence of life. So you can witness the essence of life without any control of the ego.
That's part of the dimensions, though. You know, it's like it's tied in such a beautiful and not so subtle way. Like the ego is this concept of our ego like is very much activated and challenged simultaneously by the thought of death. And watching the breath and thinking that the breath is life, realizing that the breath is life, you become very keen on the fact that this thing's going to stop and you'll be dead. And that's like let's say one of the obvious markers of a dead person is that they stop breathing. And sometimes the not breathing is what causes the death, which can be scary because it's like you're conscious but you're drowning, or for whatever reason you can't breathe. Like you're going to be witnessing, you're going to lose that anchor. You know, like sometimes, like a lot of times when we're doing different type of breath work, we're retaining the breath. And I often think about, like, I'm in this space where I'm holding the breath and I'm trying to just kind of concentrate on my body and what I'm supposed to be doing. But I often think, like, imagine that was your last inhale. Like you're dead now, but like you're dying.
Yeah.
Like you're not dead. That's going to be fun. That's going to be comfortable. You're going to be dead.
Yeah. You can
But
be
you're dying.
you can be on a highway and then your GPS glitches and that's your last breath. Yeah,
and
but that's
there's just a fucking guardrail in your stomach, and you're
Well,
like,
that's
well, I
why-
guess I'm dead now.
like that's why this meat body is like just rented and the breath is just your connection to it. And
It's all, but it's really interesting that that's all intrinsic and tied to the breath.
it's all surrounding the breath.
We're borrowing this shit. We're borrowing each breath.
Yeah.
That's some Buddhist shit too, where they're like, imagine you can contemplate death every moment, and like every breath is almost saying the same thing.
It could be your last.
But
So-
it's always coming.
yeah.
It's the same as moments. It's just always like a moment, like moments per minute, kind of just based on your attention.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention to the breath, you're having this in moment, this hold moment, and this out moment, or maybe just in and out if you're kind of breathing like naturally and animalistically, sort of. But still, it's just moment, moment, moment. There's this unavoidable division. Oh, I'm breathing in now. Oh, I'm breathing out now. Like, it's rare that you just kind of let that be one process. Maybe that's its own way of looking at it as well, and
Yeah.
concentrating or observing.
Wow.
But yeah, like you just have this like metronome for your awareness, and it's always up, down, up, down, up, down,
Yeah.
always coming back, always coming back. So it's an anchor, but it can remind you. It can work as a thing to help you be anchored, and not just like as a just let the cops pass by. If you're listening to this in the car and you thought that there were cops behind you, we're sorry.
I don't even know if it picks up. It might.
No, that'll pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's loud enough.
Yeah.
I think the window's open, because
Mm.
that's why it's like a little bit louder. We have our headphones on. Like, that was really loud.
That's pretty loud.
Yeah.
But I love that you said
Buddha head.
the breath is the metronome for like your life, because it's just hitting its fucking rhythm, going, and you can like go a life for years forgetting about it, and then you can just tune in and it's just the metronome still going. It's still the fucking shaman just shaking the bell, you know, the cowbell for like 70 years just going, and you can check in and check out as you will.
Mm.
All day, every day. You can come back. You can avoid it for years. You can just show up, see how it's doing, go back, and think about that for a second. Just how powerful it is that you're able to check in, and how quick you are to take it for granted that because you can check in and check out, you can forget about it.
Honestly, lately, that's like my goal is to not take it for granted. And there's again with the app and with Sam Harris and all that stuff, there seems to be so much benefit that I can't explain. It's not like my life is suddenly like 360'd or 180 or whatever the expression
Definitely
is.
not 360.
No, it's just back where you started. It's
Yeah.
stupid. That's why. But like there's everything's easier. Just everything becomes easier. Nothing might change per se, but like when you start admitting that the metronome's always there, like you realize it's not that I stop playing and I'm not paying attention. Sometimes I'm playing off metronome. If you want to continue the analogy, it's like you're having another conversation with the universe, but there's always this kind of thing that's happening. And I mean, now this kind of metaphorical, I guess. I'm not talking about the breath per se exactly, but like attention itself. And it's like it's almost like you start from a point where you get to choose. So you're going to choose equanimity instead of just being in this kind of momentum ride. Yeah, that's obvious. I guess that's a big part of meditation.
Yeah.
But that opens up positive energy, and you kind of like resonate with an easier life, because even though there's always going to be obstacles and there's always going to be like something to make you uncomfortable, but if whatever you can blame it on, if it's yourself or another person or circumstances or whatever, like this just ends sooner.
Mm.
And it's almost counterintuitive for me, because I want to feel like I have a grasp on something or a power, and then I can implement that power whenever I want. But this is the opposite of that. It's like equanimity, like actually embrace and accept. You can still do stuff in the moment. That depends on the moment of do I do something, do I do nothing, like. But the pause is the same. You kind of the first thing you do is always nothing, and you go to this kind of baseline and you take a second, and that becomes easier and easier. So there's just this raising quality of life. It's like your mindfulness goes like whoop, and then like later there's this like actual transition in like events or situations or outcomes. Not right away for your experience, because you become mindful, but then that mindfulness is so fruitful. You won't get as mad with people. You're going to have better relationships. You're going to have more patience with yourself. You're going to have more structure in the things you do, more quality and quantity in a smaller time, because you're like literally like more grounded and more focused. There's all this later effect stuff, and that's a trap too. Is like just go back to equanimity. Apparently, like always ignore the powers.
Just go back to your breath, your natural breath.
Yeah, we just keep talking about meditation.
Dude.
We still have a bit of time. I think it's been about an hour.
Let's meditate.
Right now, it's going to be so boring for the listeners.
No, I'm just kidding. But
close your eyes.
Someone's just driving.
Feel the breath. Yeah, unless you're driving.
Yeah.
There's always a disclaimer. If you can, close your eyes. Use your judgment here.
Use your judgment. Don't close your eyes while you drive, unless you have a Tesla. Ayo.
Okay, now stop using your judgment.
What the hell? Where did that come
I put it on his head.
Oh, that's
I
where
put
it goes
it on the
today.
Buddha head.
He's a Jewish Buddha tonight.
It's a weird sound. Is that a clam?
What about you? What about ceremonies? Do you have a calling for it? I know you mentioned it recently to me.
I'm always in. There's 3 states of mind. There's, I guess 4 technically, but it's like I should do this because a bunch of reasons, some of which are stupid egoic reasons, but like there's good reasons and less good reasons to do it. And those are pretty obvious. I don't think I have to get into them.
Okay.
But the bad part is, or the I shouldn't do it is, one, it's very disruptive. And it's like, I don't know if I could take days off after the ceremony to kind of really integrate. But it's like, you shake the Etch-a-Sketch and then you like go back to work kind of thing. And it's that shake is like horribly uncomfortable for me. And in that I don't want to do this, there's a I don't need to do this, where it's like, this is synonymous in my mind with like suffering. And it's like, I want to let go of the idea that I need to suffer to learn, because that is true at first, but I think that I want to find a way to walk away from that. And I don't know if I should yet, because I feel like that is like maybe a level, quote unquote, that I'm not at yet. And I kind of like...
So you're associating ceremony with the idea of suffering?
Yes, and life. So now this is where there's the third thought, whereas like I doubt all of that, both sides. And I just feel like maybe like just do it or don't. Like it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. And it will be uncomfortable, but anything in life that is uncomfortable is going to teach you something. And if if I realize that the suffering part is more under my control, and I am just going to experience pain and pleasure in life, and both of those things can be interpreted as good or bad. So I can just have pain and pleasure and both of those being good for most of my life. It's just a perspective. And so that's why there's that third and fourth perspective, is like in both do it and don't do it. I just go like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So like just take the ride or don't. Like it's up to you, but like, I always get sucked into this, like, is it actually helping me or is it even maybe hurting me? I get scared in
Yeah.
both directions. I think, oh, I should do this. This is
Yeah.
going to show me something. No. But then I think like all the psychedelics I've done in my life and how confused and fleeting the lessons left me.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know if it's worth it because it's
It's interesting.
it's a lot. And I feel like different people have different experiences, get different things out of it. And then I bounce back like, you know, there's benefits just from drinking it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes about like it being like an anti-parasitic and having all these minerals in it and like all
Definitely
these
feels healthy when you drink it. It's definitely
it's like a shake. Like you drink
it's a
it and
protein
you go like that was good for me.
Yeah.
That didn't taste good. That was funky, but like your body's like let's go. It's a strange
But
instinct.
What does your intuition tell you? Like the first sensation you have when you hear about going to ceremony.
I don't know which one's first,
Mm.
but I simultaneously like let's say the first two things. They are the first, but one is no, and the other one is yes, but because I want to be cool.
Okay.
So maybe I should just stay away.
Yeah. I mean, the calling. I don't know how to describe the calling.
But it's not that.
It's not that.
It's not like ayahuasca. Like check.
Yeah.
I did it once, and I'm proud. I could check that off.
You
but
know when you want to go, and maybe you just don't need it right now.
But it changes from moment to moment. Like it's really, I have these pools, and I don't know which one's gonna arise. Sometimes I just go like, man. Sometimes it's a response to life feeling rough or uncomfortable, and then me thinking that's gonna help somehow. And in a way, it could be
But maybe you're also
an escapism.
Maybe you're putting a lot of weight on the experience itself.
That well,
'Cause
less now
sometimes
because I haven't gone back.
Sometimes when I go, it's just because I want to be surrounded by people I love, play some music, listen to some music, and just vibe. Like that's sometimes my intention is literally just that, and all the work that comes with it, I'll accept it and do it. But it just the environment is such a beautiful experience that I want to have that in my database in my mind.
That's kind of new for me. You know, I think I should really consider that because
taking less weight on the actual moment.
I didn't feel like I could back then.
Yeah.
Like it's been a long time. It's been like 2 years or something since my first time, and I part of me still to this day I'm associating it easily like many of things like it where there's a group of people. I'm associating it with like some kind of social anxiety, and I'm thinking I might not feel that way this time. Like I don't have a lot of instances where I can see like friends or family, a bit because of COVID, obviously, but just because of where I live as well. Like I don't have that opportunity often. But lately when I do, I feel way less stressed than I used to, way less. And it's not until I'm in the situation that I realize, like, this is way easier than it used to be. And it's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
To have these expectations totally predicated on the past, and then once you get there, it's not that. It's really surprising. So I might end up at my reasons might be muddled and flip floppy, but I might end up at ceremony again and then realize that like I'm really having a good time because obviously the people there are amazing, but the whole time I was there last time, it was my guard was up and down, sort of, like it's hard to just really relax. Like first time you meet Shaheen, he's an intense human being. So I was like, what the fuck, And everybody else, I guess, was so like heart open that I felt almost like hurt. I was like, oh, they're so happy. Like, what's happening? Like, why am I not like that? Like, they're so light and so breezy that you feel like you're alone when you're with them. So you just kind of get tense because you're not alone, but you feel alone. Yeah. And it's almost like they're leaving you in the dust. Like, here, we're in this moment. Enjoy, and then you just start filling it with all your bullshit, but they don't. So you don't get to mix bullshits and have like a fun time with the the bullshits are meeting in the instance. It's hard to explain, but it's like
the bullshit like cafeteria. Like you can meet people there and just feast in that kind of environment in your mind, and but they're at like this. They're in like the atrium.
Yeah, it's like how you used to explain to me recently, like how when people argue, like they're putting their arguments in front of them, and the arguments are arguing. Yeah. And like the two people often are not really like listening or willing to change ideas. They just want the other person to agree with them. Yeah. That blew my mind, and that's kind of how I see it. Is like one way or the other, you're kind of presenting something. And when the other person isn't playing the game, everything just kind of falls on the floor, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's a strange feeling. And then they're kind of like a mirror. They're just like, ooh.
Oh, it's like another example would be like if all you knew was baseball, and then you go to some party and no one ever heard of the sport, and you're trying to explain baseball to people, and it's just like there's no relation. So a lot of people, when you go to like ceremony, like not everyone, but the heart is so open for a lot of them that you with these like blocks and insecurities and feelings, it's just not really relatable. Well, not even that it's not relatable. It's just.
You feel like the spotlight's on you. Like, if
Mm.
you already have
But
that
the funny
mentality.
part is that's all within your mind.
Oh, for sure. But that makes it worse. You're like, they're not even letting you have that thought of that insecurity. So then you just kind of really, that's why I said you feel alone. Like, they're not feeding into any of your bullshit, good or bad.
Mm.
So you're just like playing this game alone, and they're like just being. And it's like, not to put anyone on a pedestal. Like, I see that I can do that now as well. And I just have
That's
to
why I'm
kind of
curious.
practice it.
That's why I'm very curious about when you decide to go. I would love to know and see what your experience would be like, because you were in such a different place when you first went.
Yeah. I have a feeling, and again, like, I know we say it often, like, not to have a plan when you go in, because you're going to get surprised most of the time. But I really have this feeling, it's a hope as well, because it's a good feeling, but it really is a feeling that it's going to be like a pleasant experience. Because the last time was like washing machine. And this time it's like, I feel like I might even get the washing machine, but I'm going to be like, okay, cool. And then whatever that choice or attitude that I'm more aware of now is going to make the thing just lighter. And that's going to be so nice that I'm not going to be like tense for the ride kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go limp.
Yeah. Dude, that's what it is. That's why I think there's a curriculum to it, because their mindset, just knowing that and saying that is because you've done it before. So now you have this sense of like, oh, if I go through this, I'll just be, yeah, okay, fine, let's go through.
And that's keys that open doors further down the hallway, so to speak. Yeah, I know what you mean. And that can come and go. That could retract sometimes, and that's
because
your
there
lesson
is no
again.
hallway.
And every time you rake over the same lessons, you solidify things.
Yeah.
We want to think that we just shouldn't come back to those.
We
but
look at it linear.
that's not realistic.
Like forward and backward.
No, we're gonna slip. We're gonna go. We're not
it's
perfect on our lessons.
Ayahuasca is just a fucking like in the form of a snake. It's constantly going like this and interwoven, and you might think you're like halfway through, but it's like the tail of the snake, and you're at the beginning. Like there's no start to the end in this crazy shape it takes.
And yet you can see the road ahead like more and more clearly as you go, if anything. But also all the stuff you've been through.
Yeah.
So there's this clear beginning and not end, but way forward, let's say. But it does seem like we revisit things and we're always moving forward like temporally, but there's so much like cha-cha back and forth, raking over the same things, like we said.
Yeah.
And it's the analogy is, I think yours is good. I think like a weird infinite snake or a Boris thing,
Just like
that's a
super
spiral but
tangled
also
up.
a circle. Yeah, like it's you need this weird like super creature item, like I don't know, like it doesn't work with physical reality. That's why it's spiritual. The concept is a bit away from physical, like we can't describe it properly.
Yeah, we try to bring it back to this 3D realm into boxes and categories and labels, but it just you ever seen that meme where they had like, it was a cartoon where they had like 5 people blindfolded touching an elephant in different spots?
Oh yeah, sure.
Like one was touching the leg, one was touching the ear, and then the husk, and then they all had like different interpretations of it.
Yeah, they're asked like, what is an elephant?
Yeah, and it's like a cartoon, so you see like the bubble text is just like, oh, it's this like this tree trunk, or it's this, it's that. It's just
it's like you hold the trunk and it's like they think of a snake. You hold the leg and they think it's like a tree or something. You hold the ear and they guess
I don't even know what the ear was.
What was the ear? Like a leaf, maybe like a big palm.
Might have been like a leaf. And I feel like that's when you try to bring those realms into this conversation, it's that. And some people are better at illustrating them in better definitions and better words, and they can kind of give a wider glimpse, but it's so vast. And I love the elephant analogy because it's massive, So that's why my general theme after ceremony now is just like such gratitude for experiencing it, not necessarily needing to understand it or even search for the lessons that come from it, but just grateful that that experience existed. And removing the weight I've added to ayahuasca, like, oh, it's ayahuasca, I'm going to go for healing, I'm going to go for that. Just, there was a calling towards it. I decided to go, and that's it. I don't need to attach all these big lessons that I'm going to attain from it and big changes I'm going to make. And, you know, like, for example, the whole diet thing, like eating super healthy towards it. You think ayahuasca gave a shit? It was nothing to do with that. It was just like, okay, we're just going to flow through you. It's a little bit easier, I guess. But enough, like, I laughed at myself at how serious I was taking things, you know? Dude, you got your phone.
Phone's going off, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just a lot of those resistances that you were talking about, like those disruptions that you said it was, it's all self-induced almost, or like it's just added on to the experience. All these ideas that it's going to be this or it's going to do that, it's going to change this, these are just layers you're putting on top of what, in essence, it comes back to the breath. If you can follow your breath in an ayahuasca experience, it's no different than being sober or anything. It's your breath is the constant metronome that you can watch, you know?
Yeah,
The world is just fucking turning and flipping, but your breath is still there. And you can just, oh shit, I recognize that, you know?
even in ceremony.
But that's why I was saying,
Yeah.
the breath was like literally like the Morse code from that realm to this realm. It's just like the one thing that you can, it's like an SOS. It's like the ship's crashing or going underneath, but then there's an SOS code that's saying, oh yeah, we're coming for you or something. And you can just hear it. And then that's your breath. So whatever happens in reality, you got this thing that's just constant. Whether you control it or not, it's still there. How cool is that you have this constant measurement that is there, whether you're aware of it or not, it's just playing. No different than a heartbeat. It's just they're both operating.
Breath is weird, man.
It's the fucking guide. And now I have such an honor to breath. Like, I would worship breath. Like, in my ayahuasca experience, it was literally, I had a vision of everyone was bowing to this thing we call breath. And as I was breathing, the whole room was like bouncing, and everyone was just like intoxicated, bowing to it. And it's just
like, yes, breath. Up, down.
It's a fucking breath orgy.
It's a dance. I mean, that's a nice way of seeing it. Like, you ever get in those flows? I mean, it's a rhetorical question. Like, I know you have, but like, you get into those workouts where like your breathing is really on point, and you feel like you can go so much
connected
further.
I have a client and we train, and she gets so tired quick, but then I say, okay, let's do it with the breath. Focus it. All of a sudden, triple the reps, triple the set, triple the time of doing. It's just because, oh fuck, I had my attention on my breath. We're so lucky to have that. It's literally our true guide is our breath. And it's so cliche. Every yoga teacher says that. But it is the truth. You know, this thing is our guide. It is the metronome, the conductor of the song. You know, it's everything.
It's just tough to, tough. I think it's the way to get that benefit that we're talking about. I mean, it's physical, like we just said, but there's so many other benefits. And this kind of, this philosophy as well. There's so much weighted in the breath, like intrinsically, spiritually. It's just there for you, like as soon as you pay attention to the breath. But there's like there's all this. These are all byproducts. You don't consciously get to any of these. You just do the practice, and that can be. It's meditative, and it's just watch the breath. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're both kind of feeling that I'm gonna have an easier time at my next ceremony. Me, because I feel more mindful, and you are saying you bring like this mindfulness to the ceremonies, and you get the benefits therein that are obvious from everything we've talked about in this podcast. So it's like I literally have the thing I need. I literally have what I need to have a better experience now.
That's why. Sorry to cut you off, but that's why I think Vipassana should be a prerequisite for ayahuasca, because it teaches you what you were talking about. And when you're aware of that, you're good. But that can be step one, is learning how to follow your breath, learning how to bring that mind into the equanimous state. And then basically being rooted, feeling very okay with just that awareness that is there and contained, you know?
You ever think about these retreats, like there's ayahuasca retreats, and it's like you're mixing vipassana with ayahuasca.
Yeah.
These people are taking ayahuasca like 7 days straight, and they're not seeing a lot of other people. Maybe they're not talking. They're having a certain diet. Like, it's very synonymous. It's very close to that experience, this kind of bubble where you're trying to get the most out of it. And my first instinct used to be like, oh man, that's like double hard. You know, like
No.
you're doing vipassana and ayahuasca. And it's like, no, actually I mean, it might be more intense, like, you know, like those first few days where you're ripping away from like technology
But then
and
it's
certain.
just momentum will take over, and you're just in it, you know?
But it's like the direct benefits.
Yeah.
It's like what you're talking about for me seems like you're overwhelmed and you just have to give in. And I think there's a little bit of element to that in vipassana and ayahuasca in the experiences and in the like through the actual meat of the experiences. And that's part of the benefits you get from them, I think. But I feel like so much of what surrounds something like vipassana, like the idea that you're secluded and you're taking these 10 days to like really learn this practice and to integrate it, like that's, for me personally, that's an easy avenue for integration, is just having a alone time in a row. So to align that with ayahuasca, which we, you know, like integration is so important. Literally just having the time and space emotionally and physically, like to think about what you went through.
I think it's important having those moments, like that longer period.
And again, just the practice, just be mindful. You don't have to, you know, like take it too seriously. Like you said, you don't have to put it on a pedestal and dissect everything and come back with a life lesson.
Yeah.
But you just kind of get to decompress or like reshape, you know, because ayahuasca just kind of showed you what you really are, which is nothing, or, you know, or like everything. And you just have to kind of, you have to like click back into space, into place a little bit.
Yeah, and that's it. You don't need to attach these deep epiphanies and realizations and make that part of the process or the experience that ayahuasca means this, you know? I would do that a lot.
But like, why not extend that to everything?
It is everything.
I don't want to be like the boring meta guy. Where
No,
it's
but
like,
it is.
What about
it does
that with
extend to
this?
everything. And then the breath, you can have your breath in a huge stressful situation. You can have your breath in a vipassana. You can have your breath in an ayahuasca ceremony. You can get back to that. That's why I understand that whole story where the guy gave like an LSD tab to a monk, and I think he took the whole thing by accident, and then his eyes rolled back, and he's like, ugh, wow, like there's something there or something. I forgot what he said, but then he was normal again. It's just because it's like no different than going ayahuasca and then going into an incredibly deep experience and then just following your breath, and then you're just back. And now your breath is the one constant that you can latch onto, and then you can just be as sober as day. You know, it's just because your awareness is so in tune in the moment.
Yeah, like there's that ground.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on above it, and it can feel, you can get pulled really high up and feel like the ground is far away.
And that's
but
why
the falling is what's scary. Hitting
that's
the
why
ground
you can
is not.
you can follow your breath in a car crash, or you can follow your breath in a plane crash. Like these are obviously terrible
It's an
examples.
extreme, but it's
But just to show you that you can still find that it's still there. Your breath is still there. That you can be panicking the world is ending.
I think it'll come in blips unless you're like a monk. You know,
Yeah.
like I think with enough practice you can fucking light yourself on fire and horrible things.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, you know, gruesome and terrifying, but it's impressive.
You ever saw that video of that monk that got lit on fire in protest?
That's
in-
why I'm
in
mentioning it.
Vietnam?
Yeah, like the
Talk about breath. That's some hot ass air he's breathing in.
but that's a level of mindfulness and meditation that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, like pain modulation is like a simple task, and when you're present,
Yeah, like
but to a point.
like
you know,
ceremony's easy. Like going to ayahuasca ceremony, it's pretty easy. If I'm sitting in meditation, like I can do it in ceremony the whole night. But if I'm sitting in meditation, someone's just holding a lighter on my pinky, I'm fucking. That's a hard practice, man.
even less than that. Like okay, when I was at Vipassana, I'm sure I mentioned it on the podcast, there was a loud sound that was like intermittent, and I took it as an opportunity to get a stronger equanimity, you know. And I'm happy that I
Yeah. What a
picked
challenge
that
that
up.
must have been.
But here's the thing. And like a lot of things helped me realize this, but the practice is the strongest thing for sure. But it helped for me personally. I need to have the theory first, so I can. Sometimes I don't think about it until I get there. You could practice in a circle, in a small circle. Sometimes you get into like a cul-de-sac, and I might have just been stressing myself out and observing that stress. But I realized that like I don't have to beat myself up when I inevitably react. So like the guy on fire, sorry to keep bringing this up because it's horrible, but maybe he was having brief moments of like, you know, like, but he just had such a strong practice that it was like these little blips of like, oh yes, I'm totally on fire,
Yeah.
but like I'm good, I'm
But
cool.
those brief moments were the bubbles of thoughts that he never grabbed onto. Because if he grabbed onto that
Oh,
panic,
you're
his body,
fucked.
you would just see
God.
him jitter.
I can't imagine, but like exactly,
Yeah.
you get to
So
this
just-
place where
You're not in control of what arises. And that's one thing you learn in meditation. You're not in control of the thoughts that come and the thoughts that go. It's when you start attaching to them, that's when they become yours to hold on to.
that's when it gets worse. Like that's what I was gonna say. Like you learn to keep going back to the practice, because when you start seeing the benefits of like thinking less or reacting less, then we all do this at first for a long time sometimes, where we go, oh, that's awesome, I'm gonna do that more, and you kind of like suddenly the ego comes out of the from under the fridge again and starts grabbing on to like, oh, I react to this, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you literally, like that might work a little bit, but when it doesn't, you're gonna go like, why couldn't I do it? I failed. I was controlling it. Like, no. You're totally falling for the trap again. Retreat in that sense, you know, like expand whatever analogy you want, but go back to that practice, and you'll just be cultivating that skill by doing nothing, because doing nothing is hard. If you sit down, if you lie down, you'll be uncomfortable. You'll have to move around, or you'll fall asleep. Like you can't. We need to do stuff to the point where, like, you know, if you want to use the breath as like a metaphor and analogy and all these things, like we're like a fucking metronome. We're like a time bomb. We're just always clicking until we poof one day. We just don't explode. We just like die or whatever. But like
some explode.
that kills you too, I guess. Yeah. Some people are lucky; they get to explode.
Yeah, that's that.
Imagine your whole life, all the ups and downs, all the hopes and dreams, all the contemplations. No, and then when you die, it turns out that the spirit that is you just wanted to live your life so they could explode at the end. They just wanted to experience. They needed to experience getting exploded, and all of your kids, your all your pain, all your suffering, everything was just pointless. It was none of it had anything to do with the purpose of your incarnation.
One soul is just like, I just want to explode.
I just want to explode, man.
I just want to
Hey,
live
this guy
this.
explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Sammy a few days ago. He's great, man.
You want to try him out?
Yeah, he's gonna
let's try him
explode.
out. And then you just back into the realm. Just your life is so busy, and you're just in this loop. That's hell on earth.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
You wouldn't
notice.
even know.
It's just Earth. That's why, you've said it a
But
million
that's why
times.
I
It's
have
not
the-
hell on Earth.
Yeah.
It's just Earth, and
Yeah.
we can make it hell or heaven.
But that's why I have these moments where, like, my car ride and I just panicked for a split second. Like, fuck, am I dead? That pops in my
Because
head all the time.
we're thinking too
because
much, bro.
But I take things, that too. But I don't take things serious enough, and I think that's a good thing. You know, I can't.
Could you
I
control
can't
it?
pretend.
Can
that
you
I
even
take things
modulate
serious.
it
No.
if you wanted to?
Like in the most gruesome, like not gruesome, but in the most like serious of moments, I can think of the most fucked up shit and laugh in my mind, and I can't turn that off. I'm happy it exists.
That is a, like, what's the word? Like, that's a necessity. Like that's like a benchmark for being friends with me. Because I
That's
can
fair.
I can take myself too seriously sometimes. I am never more proud of myself than when I suddenly burst into laughter in a moment when I should be really angry, really sad, really something like that, and I just go like poop, like for a second you almost feel nuts, especially if someone's watching.
Yeah.
That's when it can get bad. But when it's real and you actually just let go, dude, and I see that in you.
Yeah.
more than me, a lot more than me. So like I'm just like you win, bro. Like you win at life, man. Like that is a huge.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's hilarious.
I think it's literally a bigger perspective.
Well, that's what it
it's
feels
literally
like.
the bigger picture.
Because at the end of the day, this is all an illusion. It really is. And then you just see some people get so caught up in it and so serious. And I just laugh. I mean, I get caught up in it and I laugh at myself getting caught up in it.
That's the proof. It's literally the bigger picture.
It does not mean I don't have sympathy for myself and others.
No, it's simultaneous.
It's simultaneous. Exactly. And it's
simultaneous.
so literals.
Simultaneous.
Here's another moment I laughed. During ceremony, they were all singing their songs. And I'm just singing, and the words are so wrong when I'm saying. I'm just laughing out loud. I'm like, I thought I had this. I was so passionate about these lyrics, and I was like mumbling.
You just have nothing.
And I just couldn't
nothing
stop
to what
laughing.
they're actually saying.
I'm like,
That's
wow,
funny.
you're so funny. You thought you're being all powerful singing their song, but you're just mumbling off tune.
Look, it's been a while, guys. I forgot the words.
Or like just the chorus. They
And then
switched up the chorus on the last verse, and I'm just singing the other chorus. I'm just like, oh fuck, it's not even the right chorus.
Fuckers, why would they do that? They trapped you.
Trap the ego and point at it. All right, well, let's wrap this up.
Fine. Just like that. It's done. We have
It's
anything?
fucking done. It's done.
It's
Okay?
done. It's done.
That's all.
Goodbye.
Peace. We love you all.
No, don't give him the satisfaction.